What if I could told you could take $130,000 off of a home purchase? Would you buy that home? That was a real example that we are going to go over in this video of what is sold in the last week and the negotiation power you have right now as a buyer. Taking $130,000, maybe it's $50,000 off of a home. Sellers are willing to make deals right now in the marketplace. So if you're a home buyer, right now is one of the perfect times. Let's dive in and see what's happening. What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the new float sheet for this week in the Kelowna real estate market. In the last 7 days, we've had 103 sales, 297 new listings, 155 decreases, canceled, 150 expired, 51. So all in all, we've had 300 listings come off the market so far in the last week and 297 on the market. So we're continuing to see that inventory drop right now. We might see more of these canceled or expired listings relist coming in the next few weeks. So that's completely the situation. But the other topic of it is these price decreases, where we're seeing anywhere from 1.8% drops to 3% drops to 4.5% drops, all the way to 8% drops. So there's a little bit of a gap on what prices are decreasing on. And when we're looking at the sales, people are trying to find the market value in this current marketplace. And when we're looking at the sales, we're just going to look at a few of the ranges in what had sold. The lowest sold we had was a mobile home on Old Vernon Road there. And we've had other apartments cutting in that $200,000 to $300,000 price range. When we're looking at the top end of the price range, we're starting to see some higher end properties sell at the end of the summer here. So some waterfront properties, one on Pritchard, one on Abbott Street, and Lakestone. So we have two in the 5 million range, one at 3.8, 2.6. So all in the top over 1.5 million. We have 15 homes sell in the last week over 1.5 million. That's probably the highest range of what we've seen very recently. So there is definitely a lot of opportunities in the marketplace right now for it. So if you look at it, and we're starting to see quite a few for the next 10, the bigger range, it starts to kind of simmer out there around that 1.5 range, and it really starts to go down fairly drastically. And the other 10, the next 10 is 1.1 for homes that are selling. But when we're looking at some of these ones, and let's just go more the average home prices. So the average home price right now is right around $1 million. So we're just going to start looking at these ones that are actually selling and seeing how much they're selling for. This one was listed at 1.2 originally, on the market 176 days, ended up selling for $1,090,000 after dropping the price to 1.1. So a little bit of negotiation room. This one was listed at 1.2 million, and Appleway in West Kelowna sold for $1,070,000. So this is what we're seeing. Homes are sitting on the market for that 100 days plus, they're probably going to be open to an offer. So if you're a home buyer, be willing to make those offers, because that one sold for $130,000 less than the ask price. Darlene Road, this one I believe was an auction, and they ended up selling for $983,000. A little bit different situation, but looking at it, 2551 on Saddle Ridge, listed at 1.1 originally, sold for $980,000 after 120 days. So we're looking at it, there's a bunch of different opportunities, and it's depend on every different seller. So if you are a home buyer right now, there's some deals to be had right now, and people are most likely willing to negotiate quite a bit, especially heading into winter. If they're keeping it on the market, this is oftentimes where they are going to be willing to negotiate. Now let's just quickly bring up the active listings, because supply and demand, when we're looking at the active listings and the sales, we want to continue to watch this. Especially this is what we're going to be needing to watch to see if there's going to be increased pressure in pricing, or if the supply will hopefully relieve some of that pricing pressure on it. Because as a home seller, you're going to be thinking about pricing, and what we've seen so far is prices have remained relatively sticky for the most part, unless for the motivated sellers. But for home buyers, there is, and that's also the flip side for the home buyers. And that's why I think there's a lot of home buyers sitting on the sidelines and just waiting for the right opportunity. September 17th might be that opportunity. This coming Wednesday, there is another Bank of Canada announcement, and there's a strong chance in this announcement they're going to be dropping the interest rates at least 0.25, potentially 0.5% interest rate. So we'll see what that does to really spur the market. When we're looking at year to date, we're starting to see supply coming down. Where in June, we hit the peak amount of listings over 3,500, 3,600 listings there. And today in September, we're at 3,300 listings. Listings from July on, we're going to drop about 30% by the time you get to end of December. So we're going to continuously see this drop down and step down if the last 10 years is any evidence on it. We're also starting to see the sales also drop down. So we're seeing less sales in the marketplace, but more inventory, people just pulling their homes off the market. What this is going to do potentially is bring us back to that kind of that sticky point where the supply and the demand on this is really keeping the prices sticky and not moving a whole lot. We can flip this and look at it from a different aspect of it. But if you want to look at the apartment market, because this one's really factored in a different way, and this is experiencing different supply and demand on it, especially more supply. But in the apartment side of the building, we had 978 back in June. We are starting to see more and more come off the market. And currently we're at 867. So we've seen about 100 listings in the last 3 months come off the market. We are starting to pick up here in July and August, 2 months that hit over 100 sales. Before that, the next closest was June of 93 and May of 98 sales and April of 99. So we can see a slight uptick in the amount of sales, but it is relatively flat. If you were to draw it straight across, there it is a relatively flat, sitting around 100 sales a month on it. Currently in September, we're at 48 sales already. So we are still on track in that aspect. When you look at the single family home side of things, this is where we're starting to see more and more homes pulling off the market. And this is where you're going to see a little bit more sticky pricing and a little bit more opportunities to get some rooms for negotiation, especially when you're looking at pricing. So there's still 1,726 active listings on the market. We peaked out right around June of 1,866. Are starting to see a little bit of drop down in the activity on it in the last couple months. But keep in mind, these are the higher price listings. We're also including in this one all the $4 or $5 million properties that are currently actively listed. So this is going to be included in the supply. If we factor this in and look at what the supply is under $1 million for single family residences, this is going to tell you the tale of it, because a lot of the months of inventory we are seeing is in the higher inventory. So under $1 million, there is currently 683 sales, back in June, and 646. So we're starting to see roughly around a 50 home active listings drop off of it, but we are starting to see some of the activity slow down a little bit. When we look at the townhome side of the market, we're going to be looking at just the overall market itself, a little less volatile based on price point, just to give you a sense of where it's at. But the inventory is really staying fairly flat for the most part. Inventory did peak in April at 453, and now we're actually down in September to 416. So not a huge drop, but we have been staying relatively flat. In May, we did see an uptick in supply or in demand in the homes with 75 sales. That was a large part due to the new GST rebate that was announced back there as part of the Government of Canada's action plan. And so this is where we're seeing a lot of first-time home buyers entering into the marketplace, and also a downsize. So in this marketplace, it is a little bit reliant on the single-family home side of things, because downsizers are also looking at these types of properties. So it is a mixed bag here, and it really depends on the type of property. If this is your first time to the Kelowna Real Estate Weekly, we're also breaking down articles that are happening right now. This one was originally posted back in March, but why I'm bringing this one up is City Council just greenlit plans that is going to happen in these neighborhoods. So what this is they realize Kelowna is growing, and this 2024 trends report is really showing the vibrant changes in these hubs. As you look at it, there's downtown Pandosy, Capri, Midtown, Rutland. These are all focused growth areas for the city of Kelowna. and nearly 40% of all residential building permits between 2021 and 2024 are in these building centers. But now they're starting to realize that there's some gaps, like access to schools, grocery, and green space for future improvement. And so City of Kelowna is greenlighting a plan to go ahead with it. What does that plan look like? There's a lot of due diligence that needs to do, but really looking at it is 2 out of 5 of these urban centers have public schools. So we're taking away from the kids and the young families. 5 out of 5 urban centers have full service grocery stores, which is a positive outlook. 3 out of 5 have medical services, and 2 out of 5 have indoor public space. But what this report really kind of brought in contrast, that nearly the median household resident income is 23% lower in these areas than they are in the rest of the city. So we're dealing with a lot of different households on low to moderate incomes. And so how are they going to get the funding to be able to approve and get some of these other infrastructure things across the line without increasing taxes? Because when you increase taxes, if you can't afford, the people paying it can't afford it, they're going to move somewhere else anyway. So how do you keep somebody in Kelowna? Positive news. Finally, might have some positive news coming out of the economy throughout Canada. Statistics Canada just reported manufacturing sales up 2.5% in July at $8.3 billion. So this is a great opportunity, and this has a lot to do with the new manufacturing that we're going to start producing in Canada based on everything happening down south and with all the tariff situations happening. But why I really wanted to focus on this one is there was a 7.2% gain in motor vehicle parts, and aerospace products and parts sales rose 6.5%. So that is good news for KF Aerospace here in Kelowna, one of the main contributing factors into our economy in Kelowna. This is why I brought this one up. So this one I find really interesting, and this one is for Toronto, and we're not Toronto and out west. I'm trying to get away from the narrative that Toronto's real estate market is not Kelowna's real estate market. It isn't even Vancouver's real estate market. There's fundamental differences in each of the markets. And there's going to be a video I'm going to put out on this because I'm trying to get away from that narrative. The reason why I bring this one up is because Toronto's housing market will soon face a 235,000 unit shortfall the city doesn't get to building. And this is something we're going to be experiencing in Kelowna. Same sort of situation, but this is just going to happen. So there's really, what the article is saying is that there's so many newcomers coming in, like 550,000 newcomers arrived between 2023 and 2024, and putting this strain on the housing. And they are heading apparently a 235,000 unit shortfall marking today. So this is a situation that's going to come up in Kelowna when you're looking at supply. A lot of the purpose-built rentals are being built right now, but they're not being occupied, and we're not necessarily, once that gets absorbed to the market, we don't have a whole lot of new inventory hitting the marketplace. New building permits are down in Kelowna. You can look at it. There's studies. The city of Kelowna has noted that, and we've talked about it in the past. So we are going to see this, but they have a new study out, 235,000 less. And for Kelowna, it's not going to be that significant of a number, but Carney and his build homes plan and what he's looking to do. And according to the government of Canada, what we got into last week with the article situation is to get affordable homes. We need to build 290,000 homes in every year from now in the next 10 years. So we have to build like 3 million homes in the next 10 years. By the time we get to 2035, developers and builders can't necessarily pull their money out. So they're going to purpose-built rentals. And even that, the investment and the lending is starting to dry up a little bit. So there's not a whole lot. So we're going to continue to see a huge